Live from Washington, D.C., Jay Sekulow Live. Phone lines are open for your questions right now. And now, Chief Counsel for the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow.
Let's start with the Planned Parenthood case because we're in week 2. By the way, looks like it's going to be a 6-week trial. Our team is in California, in San Francisco on that trial. That's going on right now, literally as we speak. I mean, the plan right now is that this trial probably goes for about 6 weeks. But the admissions that are coming out of Planned Parenthood here are kind of breathtaking in scope, specifically as it relates to issues that the Planned Parenthood specifically did not want raised in the proceedings. They did not want to raise in the proceedings the illegality that was being investigated by the undercover reporters. That was, of course, involving the sale of fetal body parts. They didn't want the mention of fetal body parts. They didn't want to mention what was on some of these tapes. Yet what's so ironic in all of this is that Planned Parenthood's own lawyers have opened the door. Now, what that means legally is when you say someone's opened the door, they've set forth a series of questions, and that because of those questions, what happens, and this is, again, they did this themselves. What happens is now they've opened the door, so you get to ask questions to follow up because the jury is hearing this, and it would be a violation of due process to try to defend a case when you're not allowed to, in fact, make statements in response to videos that are now public. Or, in this particular case, where the judge said, I don't want any mention or discussions of illegality on Planned Parenthood's behalf, which is how this started. So they filed what's called a motion in limine early on, which means area of things that will not be discussed. And what you had here, and this is just fact, is that they, right in the beginning of this trial, right as the trial began, they themselves opened the door. And they opened the door because a series of questions came out. Why did you think this why did you do these videos? Why were these videos done? And the person answered, because we thought that they were engaged in illegal conduct. So they opened up the door to this, and now just 3 weeks into it, it continues.
Yeah, this is what happened. So in the trial, and we talked about this, but let's just set the stage to get to then what happened yesterday. So 4 years ago, this started, where you had the Center for Medical Progress. You all saw these videos, right?
Right.
The videos showed, one, Planned Parenthood, abortionist negotiating very clearly over infant body parts, and even joking that what they wanted in exchange was a Lamborghini, which really means lots of money, a lot of money, not just, these are not doctors or researchers. They want cash. It's a business, money. And when you use the word Lamborghini, it might not mean that she actually wanted an actual Lamborghini, but it means she wants hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. And that they were willing to discuss the harvesting of babies' brains, livers, kidneys, and legs from tiny preborn children, offering to alter the abortion technique, which is illegal under the law, to ensure that the tissues would be undamaged and suitable for research. And then they also, on camera, on video, were bragging about the revenue earned by the sale of these organs and tissue taken from aborted infants. Now, they did this, they had these conversations with people, they didn't know who they were. And again, so it was undercover, but they sat down with them. They had it in open public places like restaurants, and they decided to take these meetings, and that's how they talk. Well, later, so Planned Parenthood's whole goal has been to shut these videos down completely so that no one sees them, including people during this trial, because there's a criminal side to this trial and a civil trial. Well, on Friday, October 4th, Planned Parenthood's lawyers, as you said, Dad, really screwed up because they called one of the co-defendants, Susan Merritt of Center for Medical Progress, to the stand. And even though the judge said that abortion-related nature of the videos should not be the focus of the trial, the attorney for Planned Parenthood asked her why she could record the conversations with the Planned Parenthood doctor. The judge allowed the question because it's Planned Parenthood's questions, lawyers' questions, and her answer was to see if Planned Parenthood was engaging in criminal activity, thus opening the door for the videos to be fully exposed again to the public.
They did this. They asked the question. So, of course, the person can answer the question. This is what's so absurd. So I don't know what Planned Parenthood was trying to do, but there you have it. All right, we're getting ready to take a break. We are standing for life. We're talking about a case now out of California, 6 weeks in trial. Your support of the ACLJ during this Matching Challenge Month is critical. Go to ACLJ.org. That's ACLJ.org. And any amount you donate, we get a matching gift for. So let me encourage you. There's a number on the screen if you want to call your pledge in as well. But just go over to ACLJ.org. Taking a stand for life. This time in federal court in San Francisco. Back with more in just a moment.
Planned Parenthood, the largest abortion business in America, is murdering unborn children and then selling their organs. Federal law bans the sale of aborted babies, but the abortion industry is exploiting a massive loophole. At the American Center for Law and Justice, we're demanding Congress investigate Planned Parenthood's gruesome practices and close this abhorrent loophole. We're taking on Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry in a major trial and in multiple Supreme Court cases. We could not mount this battle without your support. Right now, your gift to the ACLJ will be doubled through our matching challenge. A $20 gift becomes $40, a $50 gift, $100. Stand with the ACLJ now in the fight for life. Online at aclj.org.
So we're in week 2 of a trial in U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, and that is a case that Planned Parenthood brought against our clients. Our clients involved the Center for Medical Progress. We represent one of the board members in that trial. The issue became undercover videos that were released to the public about 3 years, almost 4 years ago now. And what's interesting about that is Planned Parenthood fought like the Dickens to keep out this information at trial. They didn't want discussions of illegal conduct by Planned Parenthood. They didn't want discussions as to why these videos were done. Yet, interestingly here, they opened the door to all this.
Absolutely. So the damage has been done. So effectively, Planned Parenthood's lawyers are probably guilty of legal malpractice. In other words, they opened a door that they had spent thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars attempting to close. And so 4 years ago, this case started with the distribution of undercover videos by the Center for Medical Progress. And so while Planned Parenthood has denied the veracity of these videos, essentially now, under oath, Planned Parenthood admits that Planned Parenthood's own officials engaged in the contested conduct which generated the activity by the pro-life advocates.
Right.
So essentially, that provides a legal, moral, and justifiable basis for the activities allegedly engaged in by our client and the Center for Medical Progress. And I think it's clear beyond question, and it should be clear beyond question as this trial unfolds, that Planned Parenthood, as we have alleged consistently, is a bad actor,
yes,
and its misconduct verges on human rights abuses.
So let's remind everybody what was in these videos. So Planned Parenthood was exposed, engaged in the following conduct. Negotiating over infant body parts and joking about one of the doctors, abortionists, wanted a Lamborghini. That she said this was just a joke. So I don't think fetal body parts and Lamborghinis is very funny, personally. Discussing the harvesting of babies' brains, livers, kidneys, and legs from tiny preborn children, offering to alter abortion techniques, which could well be a violation of the law, to ensure that the tissue is undamaged and suitable for research, bragging about the revenue earned by the sale of organs and tissue from aborted infants. Now, I want to go to Stan Bennett on this because, Stan, we've been fighting against Planned Parenthood for literally 30 years, more than 30 years. And the fact is, some of their funding has been cut, but they are still a big group to deal with in your work every day on Capitol Hill.
Well, we've always been honest with folks, Jay, that this was going to be a long battle and it had to be fought on multiple fronts. We've, of course, been fighting it legislatively for a number of years, and I know a number of people were disappointed, including us, that we did not get the hundreds of millions of dollars that Planned Parenthood collects under Medicaid repealed when we had the chance, when there was a repeal vote on Obamacare. But, Jay, we are winning victories. The Title X victory that we had with the $60 million that Planned Parenthood had to relinquish. But I want people to think about this because it is really having an impact. You and Jordan have been been laying out this case that's going on in California where we are taking Planned Parenthood on in court. But think about the last few weeks and the backdrop against which this trial is taking place. Just this week, Jay, inside the Democrat debate, what was the cry on this issue from the Democrat candidates up on stage? It was, hey, look out, everybody. Planned Parenthood clinics in your state, they're closing. Jay, they're closing because the American people are waking up to what is happening. That is in no small part due to the efforts like this court case demonstrating what Planned Parenthood still does. Now, it's true. They still have a $1.7 billion in revenue. But, Jay, because of this administration, $60 million less of that comes from you and me, the taxpayers.
So on October 4th, Planned Parenthood lawyers called the co-defendant Susan Merritt of the Center for Medical Progress to the stand. So actually brought her to the stand to testify. She's a pro-life grandmother who went undercover to expose Planned Parenthood. The judge in the case, as I said, had already ruled that the abortion-related nature of the video should not be the focus of the trial, but the attorney for Planned Parenthood opened the door asking Miss Merritt, why she recorded her conversations with the Planned Parenthood doctor. And she answered. And the Merritt's answer said that the main reason she was doing this was to see if Planned Parenthood was engaged in criminal activity, which, again, was exactly as Harry said. It was exactly what they fought against. So, Wes, when I look at this and I look at what's going on here, the true nature of you cannot ignore the nature of what abortion is.
Absolutely. The thing that I find so disturbing about this is that they're not ashamed of what they're doing. No. And they have this cavalier attitude about selling the body parts of children. You know, there are numerous laws in the books about how we treat the dead, funeral home industry and that kind of thing, even tissue from surgery centers, what have you. They are making jokes about selling the parts of infant children. I just find that shocking. And I thought about the same thing that Than thought about this morning as I read through some of the material from the trial. And that is, last week at the debate, every one of the Democrat candidates is a supporter of Planned Parenthood and a supporter of abortion. They consider it a woman's right to choose, not thinking about the rights of that unborn child.
We're in week 2 of this trial, so it's fully underway. Let's go ahead and take a phone call.
Michelle's calling from Washington State on line 1. Michelle, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live.
Hi, Michelle.
Thank you for taking my call. I live in Washington State,
yes.
And we were the first state that used taxpayer funds to pay for abortions. Would this case impact Washington State and other abortion issues around the country?
Well, long-term look, I mean, any of the cases that will involve funding, and there's a series of those going up right now, depending on how the decisions go and what the Supreme Court decides, Harry, is going to impact. This is called stare decisis, so it would be an impact on it. The question's going to be, now, the case that's been granted review right now involves admission privileges, doctors not having admission privileges, and that's a basis upon which, if you don't have admitting privileges, you don't get to be able to perform these procedures, which really makes sense when you think about it, because there can be emergencies here. The funding itself has been I will tell you, it has been the most challenging of the issues. There's no question about it. The funding, getting this, I mean, I could think administration after administration, Than, has tried, and it just doesn't seem to happen.
Jay, this is the first one where there's been progress on that. The second biggest tranche of federal money, which goes through Title X, has effectively been cut off by the Trump administration. Just weeks ago, Planned Parenthood voluntarily withdrew because this administration says if you do abortion services, you cannot get that title fund. Of course, the biggest tranche is still through Medicaid reimbursement. We have not been able to get there yet because that requires the cooperation of Congress. Quite frankly, Jay, people on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats, have stood in the way of that. That would be another $400 million. But to the caller's point, and I think Jordan wants to chime in on this as well, this is a state fight, too, because all of those things involve state taxpayer dollars as well. In Washington, California, and other places, you should be talking to your state representative as well about that pot of money.
It all works together. We were finally seeing the abortion business under pressure. They are on the defensive. They used to be able to run to courts, whether it was the Ninth Circuit or state courts like in California, and get everything they wanted. And go to Congress and get everything they wanted. And even Republican presidents, like Than said, didn't do what they could do by executive order, which was take away $60 million of their funding just like that. President Trump was the first president to do it. He said he wanted to defund Planned Parenthood. He couldn't get Congress to do the full defund because of John McCain's vote, actually. That was there in the Obamacare repeal. So John McCain's vote against that kept the funding going. The president was hamstring there, so he looked for another way. Well, it wasn't something he created. Every president has had the ability to cut Planned Parenthood out of these family planning services, And so it took $60 million immediately away from Planned Parenthood. They didn't even want to try to comply with the rules. And that money, by the way, is not just like cut from the federal government. It's now available for applicants like pro-life pregnancy centers. So it's going to the pro-life community. So it's a two-part win, cutting funding from Planned Parenthood and getting money to those pro-life pregnancy centers that Planned Parenthood always wants to, and states like California, probably Washington State, New York, and others try to shut down. They're actually now open to getting more federal grants. But I think what we're seeing is these missteps by Planned Parenthood that they would never make before. They use big law firms, Dad. It's not like,
oh, no, I know that.
This is not like Planned Parenthood staff lawyers. These are huge law firms handling a case. And for 4 years, they were basically able to get these videos out of the public. You know, it hit the public, everyone saw it, and then it became like a crime to show them. And so they've got criminal and civil. And because of their lawyer's own mistake in pulling a witness forward and a simple question that you could have guessed what she was going to say, which is, why did you want to do these videos? To see if Planned Parenthood was violating the laws about selling baby parts and other laws about abortion. So it wasn't just to make fun of Planned Parenthood or to say Planned Parenthood is bad. It was specifically, like any investigative reporter would do, to go undercover. And all these people came to voluntary dinners with people they had never heard of before.
Right.
So they did it in the open, did it in the public, or let them inside their office and told them all of this stuff about altering procedures, illegal in many states and federal law, to alter a procedure to get a baby's body part to sell. To make a profit, illegal. So you don't get Lamborghinis if you're following the law. All of this exposes now Planned Parenthood to criminal conduct, and their own lawyer did it.
We're getting ready to take a break. We are standing for life. We're talking about a case now out of California, 6 weeks in trial. Your support of the ACLJ during this Matching Challenge Month is critical. Go to ACLJ.org. That's ACLJ.org. And any amount you donate, we get a matching gift for. So let me encourage you. There's a number on the screen if you want to call your pledge in as well. But just go over to ACLJ.org. Taking a stand for life. This time in federal court in San Francisco. Back with more in just a moment.
Planned Parenthood, the largest abortion business in America, is murdering unborn children and then selling their organs. A senior Planned Parenthood abortionist was caught on camera detailing how they crush the baby, altering the abortion procedure so they are very good at getting the heart, lung, and liver. They sell the baby's organs so, quote, it doesn't look like they're making money, end quote. Federal law bans the sale of aborted babies, but the abortion industry is exploiting a massive loophole. At the American Center for Law and Justice, we're demanding Congress investigate Planned Parenthood's gruesome practices and close this loophole. We're taking on Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry in a major trial and in multiple Supreme Court cases. Add your name to our petition right now. Sign on to our petition to stop harvesting aborted babies' organs. Add your name online, aclj.org.
All right, so welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. Taking your calls, 800-684-3110. We're finishing up week 2 of the trial in San Francisco in Northern District of California. We've got a team of 4 ACLJ lawyers out there. During testimony, this was in our report on October 15th, so just a few days ago. This is what happened. During the testimony of one of the witnesses, this was a Planned Parenthood abortionist. Another video was brought up that this video, by the way, has not been released publicly at this point. But it was played in the courtroom to the jury. There, the abortionist, his name is Tom Moran, who is the Associate Medical Director at Planned Parenthood in the Pacific Southwest, who also worked for Planned Parenthood for 17 years, took the stand and testified regarding the video in which he apparently volunteered that there were high demands for specific organs from babies while he worked for a tissue procurement company, including the liver. Now, Moran testified that the tissue procurement company was, quote, currently associated with Planned Parenthood. So, again, there's the tie-in. On cross-examination, Moran was asked the following question. As a result of the abortions that would be performed there, including abortions you did, they would sometimes place a demand for certain organs, correct? So this is asking the abortion doctor, his response, that was certainly my understanding, yeah. Whether it was a liver, but whether it was actually they wanted a liver or a kidney, I don't know, intestines. They never got the privy of exactly what the list was they were looking for, but we were told, and this is, again, one of their own abortionists admitted under oath that they were actual demands for specific organs, and Planned Parenthood was procuring it. So they were making money on both ends of this, Harry. That's what's interesting here. They're making money on the abortion procedure itself and then the sale of the woman's aborted child's baby parts.
Absolutely. And so I think...
I want to say that again. Think about this. They are making money from the abortion, from the procedure itself, terminating the life of the unborn child. And then they are turning around and taking the fetal body parts of the woman's unborn child that's now been killed and selling it to a third party. Go ahead.
So it's important to note, and this trial exposes Planned Parenthood's commitment to barbarism. Planned Parenthood sought to refine its abortion procedures such that you would have an aborted fetus with intact body parts. So it's very, very important for listeners to tune in to this trial to stay abreast of the developments because it exposes Planned Parenthood's commitment to barbaric practices. What we now have right in front of us is 21st century barbarism led by elites who are appearing in court in designer suits and smartphones, and they are looking to trade, essentially, body parts for sports cars. That's number one. Number two, I would make this point. Elections have consequences. So pro-life voters need to be energized and animated by the misconduct, arguably, by Planned Parenthood, and they need to take action in their states in order to reduce the probability that these practices continue going forward.
But, the irony here is, I'm pointing this out again, is that Planned Parenthood is making money, Wes, from doing the abortion procedure itself, and then the fetal remains of the woman's child are then sold by Planned Parenthood for profit. Or for, if it's not for profit, what do they say? For their actual costs and expenses. That's how they say it. But it's the woman's child's body parts. I mean, I'm describing an unbelievably gruesome matter. But this is the reality of what it is. You got to point to what this is.
Absolutely. It's shocking. I mean, think about it. They try to say, well, it's not a human being. We're talking liver, kidneys, intestines, legs, arms. This is a human being. This idea that Planned Parenthood has used for years, that they are, the cover they use, that they're a women's health organization, is a farce. And I think the American people are wising up to it. The other thing that's coming out in this trial is that apparently Planned Parenthood, their regional and national directors had what they're calling, what has been called a don't ask, don't tell policy about these illegal, unethical activities. And the reason they wanted the individual clinics to do it, but we don't want to know about it, is because they wanted plausible deniability. You want plausible deniability when you know that what you're doing is illegal and unethical.
Right to the phones we go. Tyrone in New York, another one of the states. New York passed the most pro-abortion law in the country. Others have followed abortion up until birth. It was celebrated by Governor Cuomo and Hillary Clinton. They lit the Freedom Tower,
the Empire State
So it's another tough state like California. Tyrone, welcome to Jay Sekulow Live. You're on the air.
Hi, Tyrone.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call, Jordan and Jay. Yes, I'm from New York, but I actually live in Maryland.
Okay. I will say, Tyrone, because I'm from New York, you sound like a New Yorker, which is good.
I know. You're from Long Island. I'm from Long Island.
Right,
I'm from Hempstead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The neighbors.
But anyway, why? I mean, I know that the left is so bent on shredding the Constitution, but why is it so hard to enforce the Hyde Amendment as it relates to this issue?
I'm going to go to Than Bennett on that. Than?
It's a shell game. It's an accounting gimmick. The Hyde Amendment that Tyrone is talking about is a federal prohibition on federal dollars being used to pay directly for abortions. And Planned Parenthood technically follows it, but Jay, they use it to subsidize all their other business, to keep the lights on, and then they use the funds they raise privately to pay for abortion. Tyrone, here are the numbers. I'll just give you 3 numbers, and you can do your own math. $1.7 billion in revenue for Planned Parenthood. $564 million of that comes from taxpayers. Tyrone, they make $245 million of profit. Do you think they need that more than $500 million from taxpayers? I sure don't.
Let's go ahead and take another phone call here.
Yeah, back to the phones we go. Let's go to Kevin in Ohio on line 2. Kevin, welcome to Jay Sekulow.
Hey, Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
The question I had was whether or not the women who have had abortions were notified that their fetuses were going to be sold.
That's a very good question. I do not know. They even fight against, remember, they don't even like, the abortion industry doesn't even like what's called informed consent, Harry. I mean, so, but I don't know if we have the information on that. Were they actually told that the fetal body parts were going to be sold? I don't know.
I don't
that.
have specific information on that, but I do know, as a matter of course, that Planned Parenthood does not favor full disclosure.
Yes.
Does not favor a full and complete and thorough accounting. And I think, as a fan correctly pointed out, they like to hide their misconduct. And I think this trial that we're talking about in California suggests that that Planned Parenthood is most interested in hiding its malpractice, in my opinion, with respect to the sale of fetal body parts.
All right, that's going to do it for the broadcast today. You've gotten a really good look at what's going on in California right now as our ACLJ team of 4 lawyers is engaged in a trial that's been going on for weeks. Now, your support of the American Center for Law and Justice allows us to deploy those lawyers to handle this case, to stand up for life. Go to ACLJ.org. That's ACLJ.org. And any amount you donate, we get a matching gift for. So let me encourage you again, ACLJ.org.
Planned Parenthood, the largest abortion business in America, is murdering unborn children and then selling their organs. Federal law bans the sale of aborted babies, but the abortion industry is exploiting a massive loophole. At the American Center for Law and Justice, we're demanding Congress investigate Planned Parenthood's gruesome practices and close this abhorrent loophole. We're taking on Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry in a major trial and in multiple Supreme Court cases. We could not mount this battle without your support. Right now, your gift to the ACLJ will be doubled through our matching challenge. A $20 gift becomes $40, a $50 gift, $100. Stand with the ACLJ now in the fight for life. Online at aclj.org.